I'm going to talk a little bit about what we feed the worms because I'm getting ready to do a feeding. So here we have some food scrap that has been acquired by my household in the last couple of days. And for your information, a worm can eat half its weight in food scraps per day. So we are going to try to feed them, considering that we have about 1,000 worms in there. Let's see if we can get, several, and they weigh about a pound. We'll see if we can get them about a half pound of food waste today. So what I have here is a banana peel. It doesn't matter if these are rotten or if they are just fresh from the banana. Actually, the more rotten they are, the more they probably like them. We have some lettuce, which is brown around the edges. Great way not to be wasting food because it's not anything that I would want to eat. And I would rather see it get composted. We have some bottoms to some mushrooms. We have a heel of bread that I tried to eat from a roll that was the last of the bag, and it had just gotten so stale that I'm going to give it to the worms. We have some paper, and it's damp, which will bring some dampness to the worms. And keep in mind, food waste is about between 80 and 90% water weight, so they will get some water from the feeding that we do with them today. And the last thing I have for them is a rind of a cauliflower. And what I will caution you about this is before I put it in, I'm going to chop it up. Something this big would take them a long time to devour, but if it's chopped up, they will be happier, they will eat it more quickly, they will produce more compost and produce more worms. So everybody wins all around. So this is what we're going to feed them today, and we will do that in just a moment. Hi again, it's feeding time. So here's our bin, and we just talked about the fact that this has some paper in it, some shredded paper from last time when we fed them probably about 4 or 5 days ago. We're going to take the temperature and see how they're doing. They are still in the basement, but it's warming up in the basement. Normally up until about April, it's probably about 55 to 60 degrees down there, which is just on the low end of what they like. The temperature's starting to come up more towards 60 degrees, 65 degrees as the weather is warming up. So I'm going to check and see how these worms are doing. Because the last time that I've recorded in my journal how they were doing, this worm bin was at about 60 degrees, and I would like to see it come up a little bit. I think that they will produce more compost, produce more worms if they are a little bit warmer. So let's see what we got here. In my Rio temp thermometer, okay, so we are now up to about 70 degrees, if you can see that. 70 degrees in our worm compost, which is a good thing. So what we are going to do is take that food that we just talked about, and the best thing to do is what they taught me at Rodale Institute, which is called dump and run. So we are going to dump a few of these things that we talked about into the bin. I've been feeding them on one side because as you can see, I'm starting to get some great castings in there, and in about another month I would like to do a harvest. So I want to start keeping all the feeding going on one side. So I'm going to give them the bread heel. I'm going to give them, and I'm shredding it up as I put it in, some lettuce. Again, the more you shred it, the smaller the material, the faster they will eat it, the happier they are. I'm going to give them a couple of these mushroom bottoms that we had, and I'm going to save for my next bin feeding the cauliflower rind that we have because I need to chop that up smaller. So that had a lot of water in it. The compost is a little bit, it's damp, it's not really wet, it's not too wet. I would like it to be a little wetter, but I'm giving them a lot of, especially with the lettuce, a lot of wet stuff. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to give them some bedding. You should always cover with bedding the food that you feed them. And I'm going to give them a little spray of water as well. So first I'll spray on the material, just a light mist. And then I'll put the bin down a minute so you can see the best way to set up their bedding. You take newspaper where the fold is, tear straight down from the middle into small bits. Voila! Bedding. So I'm going to cover my new food with bedding and actually take some of these old food pieces and cover them up under so that we do not get fruit flies. And I'm going to do one more spray on the bedding to dampen it a little bit. And the worms are ready for another 4 or 5 days. That's the hungry redworm. Feeding session is over. Have a happy spring.